Off to Washington, D.C. we go in the studio. Of course, Robert Steinbach and Paul Calvert. But on the phone line from D.C. is our congressman from the 4th District, and that is Bruce Westerman. And, Congressman, thanks for the time today. You're a busy man right now.
Hey, Dave, it's always good to be on your show. You said you lost 65 pounds? Or
I lost
not much of you left. Man.
Well, yeah, there's more of me than I need, to be honest with you. But I did lose the equivalent probably of an 8-year-old. So I'm glad that. A chunky 5-year-old maybe. But, hey, let's talk about Iran. Got a question for you. Robert brought this up during the last half hour. Why can't Congress say to the president, look, you brought this deal to us. This is a treaty. It's not an agreement. It's a treaty, and we're going to treat it as such, and it needs to have a 2/3 majority to be made into law by the Senate.
Yeah, and that's a question that gets asked a lot, Dave. And the reason we're in the predicament that we're in right now is because the president was doing this without any approval of Congress, and they were saying it was an agreement. It's not a treaty, and that they were basically going to do this without any input from Congress. So that's where the Corker bill came up, to at least have Congress have some input in this. Now, the fact that it's not a treaty means that the next president can undo it on day one. But there's been some developments this week. I'm not sure how much of this has gotten out and how much of it's being talked about. Been in a lot of meetings up here, but we're pushing back right now. We voted, took the first vote on the rule today to inform the president that they didn't meet the requirements of the Corker bill that says we have to have all the information before the clock starts.
Yeah, you're talking about you're talking about the side agreements that nobody knows about.
Right, and that's in a bad position for anybody that wants to vote for this bill, that you're going to vote on something that you admit you don't know anything about what you're voting on. And it's something as important as our national security. I mean, we're talking about the safety and security of Americans, and we've got people saying this is a good deal, yet, and they also say they don't know what's in the side deal. Now, I seriously doubt the administration doesn't know what's in the side deal. I think they are unwilling to share those with Congress, and they don't want that information getting out to the public because they know there would be a big backlash if that happened. So what we're saying in this legislation that we'll be voting on later today is that the clock hasn't started yet. When we get all of the information, which explicitly is outlined in the Corker bill, that the clock doesn't start until we get all of the information, and it actually calls out side deals or secret deals. So that was the agreement going in on the front end, and surprise, surprise, this administration is not playing by the rules. And we also realized that this administration might even just say, well, Congress didn't vote on this, so we're moving ahead with it and telling banks to release the funds going back to Iran, that whole scenario. So we're also going to vote on a bill to approve the deal, which will fail by a wide margin. And we're also going to vote on legislation to leave the sanctions in place, sanctions that were put there by Congress, that the president really doesn't have complete authority to remove those sanctions. So we're approaching it from that standpoint. If he still continues to move forward, there was something interesting happened yesterday in one of the suits that the speaker filed against the administration. The court granted standing in that case. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk about that because of all the other stuff going on. But this is huge in the fact that it's the first time the House has been granted standing in the courts to sue the administration. That was on Obamacare.
Right.
So I think we're building a very strong case that if the president continues to move forward with this agreement, that it can be challenged in court. Then this is a point where the judicial branch should do what's constitutional and step in and say, no, Mr. President, you can't do that. But with the latest developments with the Senate saying they've got enough votes that this bill couldn't even be heard in the Senate because of the cloture rule. I think we've got to do all that we can to stop this any way that we can, because it's a bad deal. It's a terrible deal. That's like I said, it threatens our security and our safety here at home. It turns our back on one of our best allies in the world, and not to mention it's going to give the number one state sponsor of terror in the world nuclear weapons.
Yeah, what amazes me about all this, and listening to you saying, they're willing to vote on, some of them, I guess, are willing to vote on this and give it a thumbs up, even if they don't know what it is in it. Sounds to me like it's Pelosi 2.0 or something. We got to vote for the bill to find out what's in the bill and those type of things. And then you turn around and over in the Senate, you've got now, I think, 41 senators, Democratic senators, said that they'll vote for this bill to keep cloture from happening. My question is Congressman, what does this president have? I mean, what does he have on these members? Does he have pictures of them with goats or something? I mean, seriously, only 21% of the electorate want to see this thing go through.
Yeah, it's beyond amazement that they would still even be pushing through. When I look at the big picture, I wonder, why are we even debating this? Why did it even come up? Whose grand idea was it to go out and negotiate with terrorists? I thought that's something that our country didn't do. We had sanctions in place that were working as well as I think anything would work. And now we want to throw those away, pump money into the Iranian economy so they can not only develop weapons, but they can, or nuclear weapons, they can also continue to supply conventional weapons to terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, and go right down the list.
We got to take a break. When we come back, let's talk further, if we might. This whole Iranian thing just infuriates me. What about the leadership, Boehner and McConnell? Are you satisfied with what they've done?
Well, I'll tell you this about Speaker Boehner, and I think I shook Mitch McConnell's hand one time, so that's how well I know him. But when we got back here from the August work period, we had our first conference meeting. We actually had to end it and come back and have another conference meeting because there was a lot of debate on how we were going to approach this. And the speaker took his leadership team and sat down with a lot of members and came up with this alternative plan that's being implemented now. So he is listening, and he's not pushing through any agenda that just belongs to him. He's, I believe, doing what the majority of the conference wants to be done as we address this issue.
All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back, talk further to the congressman here on the Dave Elswick Show. Let me remind you about Architect. He's got a great thing going on for a back-to-school special. Put 2 computers on his plan. You get a third one free, which means, those 21 things that they do for you automatically, all 3 computers. I mean, if you got a great computer and you want to keep it running as fast as it runs the day that you took it out of the box, then you need to be on Architect. Architect, you can visit them at architect.com. That's ARKYTECH.com. Or you can call them at 844-HEY-ARCHI. They have a free diagnostic scan going on right now. If they do this scan, they'll be able to tell if your PC is in any way infected with malware, a virus, a Trojan, anything, might be adware, all that. Something might be attached that you don't know about, could be following every keystroke you make on your computer. You don't want that to be happening. Get on with Architect. Let them do this free diagnostic scan. Go to architect.com, click on it, and it'll show you how to make it happen. It will do the scan, make sure you're not infected, make sure you got no corrupted files, and it'll get your results to you in 24 hours. ARKYTECH.com, or 844-439-2759. That's Architect. We got 11 minutes until 3 o'clock. Congressman Westerman will be back with us in a moment. We've lost him. We lost him. So when we get back with him, we want to talk about the whole thing about defunding Planned Parenthood. I don't have as high of an opinion of Boehner as the congressman does. I would like to see the Boehner gone. And from what I've been reading in Politico and other magazines and other news stories, that's a very good possibility. All right, Congressman is back, and Congressman Bruce Westerman, District 4, is with us. Congressman, let's talk about defunding Planned Parenthood. Where are we on that? Is a vote going to be taken? Are we going to force this issue, or is the people at the top going to roll over and let the Democrats rub their stomach or something?
Now, one thing I'll say about the vote on defunding Planned Parenthood, I've not met anybody in the Republican conference that's not all for doing that. There's a lot of debate right now on the best approach to doing that. I think everybody wants to be effective in doing it, and there are a lot of bills floating around and ideas on the best strategy to do that. I've signed on to several bills. One of them, Diane Black from Tennessee, who's a nurse. She's proposed this bill, and it would stop funding while investigations are being done, because there's more to it than just defunding Planned Parenthood. I think there could be criminal charges brought against people.
Yes.
That have been selling these baby parts, and there's talk about legislation that would allow states to defund Planned Parenthood. It's complicated because it's funded through Medicaid, and as you know, Medicaid is a mandatory or automatic spending program that's been set in place by previous Congresses. So you've got to go in and stop the funding out of the Medicaid stream. But if you allow the governors or legislatures to stop funding, they can do that with whatever funds are coming to the state. So there are probably a dozen good ideas on how to stop funding, and I'm in favor of pretty much all of them from what I've heard.
Okay. So when will – I know you all are dealing with Iran right now. Is that the next thing that's on the front burner?
Yeah, I think it will be. There's I think a strong push to do something soon, and there's a genuine desire to do something more than just make a statement here, because most everybody realizes that if we pass something out of the House and it does get through the Senate, and then the president would potentially veto it. So there's been a lot of thought put into how, not just to make a statement, but to actually win on this deal, because it's atrocious what's going on.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Another big issue that sits out there for you all to deal with is the highway funding bill. Here, I don't know if you know about this, about what's going on here in the state of Arkansas with our these meetings that are going on, and they're wanting and talking about trying to raise the Arkansas gas tax by a dime. There's a lot of people who want to do that. I'm absolutely against that. It seems like to me, if we were using all the dollars that were coming into the Highway Trust Fund local here in the state for highways like they're supposed to, instead of only 63 cents on a dollar, we'd have enough money. Plus, if Congress would use all of the money that they get for highways and not for bike paths, walking bridges, mass transit, and everything else they do, we'd have plenty of money to take care of things.
Yeah, and there's a whole realm of discussion that needs to happen around that, Dave. Projects cost more because of regulations that are being put on people that are designing and building infrastructure projects. I've filed a couple of bills up here that I think are common sense bills that would fund the Highway Trust Fund by simply prioritizing the record tax revenues that we already have here. But again, that involves rolling back the Medicaid match rate on able-bodied working-age adults to the same match rate as age-blind and disabled have. That's something I'm not going to give up on, but that would supply more than double the amount of money needed to fund roads if we were to do that. And in the realm of the federal budget, we need $15 billion a year for highways. We're paying $288 billion a year in interest on the debt. We've got huge fiscal issues here, and that number is climbing. The bean counters say $808 billion by 2025 be the largest single expenditure of the federal government. And if we get to that point, roads and infrastructure, as important as they are going to be, the least of our problems, having
right.
potholes.
All right. So, I understand everything you're saying, but it sure seems like there's one party in Washington, D.C. that all they want to do is get more money in, and tax money. You guys getting more tax money than you've gotten in ever.
3.1 trillion last year. It was a new record, broke a new record. So don't let people tell you it's an income problem. It's still a spending problem. That's how we got into this predicament. If we want to solve our fiscal issues, we've got to get spending under control, and we've got to get more people back to work. And Dave, they're telling me I got to get into another meeting up here, so maybe one more question.
No, I'll let you go. That's all basically that I wanted to talk about. Work your butt off on this Iran thing, Congressman. Help us on Planned Parenthood and what you're trying to do about defunding them, and then try to talk some sense into those idiots up there about the highway bill.
We're working on it with every breath and every minute of the day.
All right, Congressman. When you get back, make sure you stop in the station, all right?
All right, Dave.
We'll talk to you later now. All right, that's Congressman Bruce Westerman. He was being called back out of the closet. He's in the cloakroom probably talking to us.